Hi Paula, hi Craft Foods. It's Trish Goodrich again from Westlake, Ohio. And I can't believe it's week 7 of the challenge. And today we're taking a little cruise down the Mediterranean. We're going to go through Greece and Italy, 2 of my favorite places, and where I learned how to make this dish. Well, where I learned the basis. And that is my stuffed flank steak. When we were in Greece, we had this dish and my husband and I just loved it. So we came back and we started experimenting, and over the years I've created different recipes. And now I have a new one, and of course my featured star is Philadelphia cream cheese. I love this garden vegetable flavor and blend. It's wonderful. It just enhances this dish so much. So let's get started. We start off with a piece of flank steak, and you just have your butcher cut it. And what I've done is, this is the way it looks when I got it, and you just fillet from all the way around, leaving a solid flap so that when we open it, this is what we're going to stuff. Now we're going to start off, first of all, with our Philadelphia cream cheese spread, and I have softened this for about 35 seconds in the microwave. Alright, next we're going to add our roasted peppers, and these peppers are just about 2/3 roasted. Now you can buy the jar peppers, which on this dish I did, and they're perfect because you don't want them overcooked because they'll get too soft, and this way they'll finish roasting in the oven. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do on top of our peppers is we're going to add a little bit more of our wonderful garden vegetable cream cheese. Just going to spread that. Okay. All the way through. There we go. Next we're going to add our fresh baby spinach, and if you can and you see really long stems, just take those off, but you don't have to get too picky about it. I just pick them off as I'm going, and I'm going to lay this on here. Now I just took my artichokes, my canned artichokes, chopped them up, and I'm just going to lay those on top. Our final touch. Now here I have Parmesan cheese and my breadcrumbs, and I'm just going to lightly put that right on top. Here's the fun part. I'm going to just now roll my meat. I'm going to roll this over, and I'm going to pull it together a little, and I'm going to roll it again. See how important it is to fillet that steak, otherwise you'd never get this rolled. Now see, what I have is my strings, and I've pre-cut my strings. And the way that I measure them is I take the length of my meat and do it just about 2 times. And all I'm going to do is I am going to slide that under the seam, and I'm just going to tie little bows. I'm going to finish tying off my fillet, and I'll be back in a second, and we're going to go ahead and get it seared. Alright, we're back. We have our flank steak tied. Now we're going to put one more step, and we have our herbs and seasoning. I have black pepper and chili pepper. I have some Montreal seasoning, a little bit of thyme, and I am just going to sprinkle this over the top, pat this in. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a crust. Now the other thing I have going on right next to me is I have my cast iron skillet, and that is heating up with some olive oil. And we're going to sear our flank steak. Then we're going to put this right into the oven, and that should do it for my seasonings. There we go. You don't want a lot, just a little. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and you want to go seam down. So put your seam in first, and what that does is that sears that nice in place, and you can hear that searing. Now in the meantime, before I turn this over, couple things. Once this goes into the oven, it's going to go in the oven at 350 until the internal temperature reaches 130. I can't stress enough about having a digital thermometer. You need a good thermometer when you're cooking. It just ensures that you are getting the proper temperatures with your meats. Now we're going to be serving a roasted asparagus this evening with our flank steak. That kind of goes along with our Mediterranean theme. Now let me check to see real quick. Our flank steak is seared, It takes about 5 minutes. You really don't need a lot of time. All we're doing here is just searing the juices in, searing that seam on the bottom so everything holds in together. And the next thing that we're going to do now is put this in the oven, and I did say till it reaches 130 degrees. And how do you know that? I measure, or I time my meat 15 minutes per pound. This is just about 1 pound of flank steak. So about 30 minutes from now, I'm going to be able to test this, and I should be right at 130. I want the meat to rest after that, and then by the time we make our fabulous red wine Cabernet sauce to go with this, our meat will be ready to cut. But let's get it in the oven first, and our oven is all ready. These cast iron skillets are another thing. If you don't have one, you really need to get one. They're so versatile. They go from stovetop to grill to oven. All right, I'll be back in 30 minutes, and we should have a beautiful finished flank steak. Well, our flank steak is done, and look at this. Isn't it beautiful? It is so golden brown. You can see our artichokes and our peppers just ready to ooze out of there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and gently move this to a plate and let that just kind of settle right there by itself. Now we're going to make our sauce. And we're going to use the drippings and the cream and everything that's already in this pan. That is what's going to enrich this sauce. We're going to turn our heat on, and I'm just going to take my whisk and start to loosen up a little bit of the bits of meat that's on the bottom here. And I am going to add 1/2 cup of a Cabernet. You can use any type of red wine you like, Merlot. You can even use Marsala, Madeira, but I'm using a Cabernet. And I'm just going to add part of that in right now. And I'm just going to let that start to loosen everything up with my heat on. And you can see that that's just starting to loosen the bits around. Now, the other thing that I am going to be adding, I have some tomato paste already ready to go. This is about 1/2 of a can, the little tiny cans. I have about 1/2 of that already here, and I'm going to put that in. What that's going to do is that's going to give you your thickness for your sauce. And that and the red wine, and we're just going to mix this all together and let that just start to simmer. This has to cook down. It takes about 5 minutes or so for it to cook down. I am going to go ahead and add the rest of our red wine to that. I'm going to blend that. This is so delicious. Flank steak. All right, we're going to let this go ahead and finish simmering for about 5 minutes, and we'll be back and have a finished dinner. Well, our flank steak has rested, and now it's time to go ahead and slice it. First thing I want to do is use my kitchen shears. I'm going to get rid of my strings. See what this looks like. Isn't that beautiful? All those peppers and spinach and artichoke, and of course Philadelphia cream cheese. I'm going to continue slicing our flank steak, and I'm going to prepare our plate, and you'll see the finished result in just a moment. Look how beautiful. That beautiful red Cabernet sauce. You can see all the wonderful ingredients in the fillings. And tonight we're serving this dish with roasted asparagus and gratin potatoes. I can't wait to taste it. Well, we're at the very final touch, and I finally get to taste this wonderful Mediterranean stuffed flank steak. Cannot wait. So tender, I don't even need a steak knife. Oh my goodness. Paula, as you always say, I wish you best dishes, and I wish to be in Savannah so I can make this and many of the other dishes that I make with you. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Craft Food. God bless.